Yesterday, the Chancellor of the Exchequer set out the findings of their audit of the Treasury, resulting in a £22 billion black hole. The Conservatives had been recklessly overspending, making unfunded promises and keeping all of this from the official bodies such as the OBR. Robert Jenrick was quick to jump on the leadership speech bandwagon by claiming the Chancellor was being a dodgy car mechanic, but was quickly shut down.
Chancellor is like a dodgy car mechanic. She says she's done all the searches, she gives you a fixed price, you hand in your car keys, and then a few weeks later, she's found all these new problems. The price has doubled, but it's too late. You've given her your car, and you both know this was her plan all along. Trust and credibility are critical to a Chancellor. Why has she been so careless and so quick to throw hers away?
Chancellor.
If the right honourable gentleman has any chance of fixing the mess that his previous government has made, he might want to start with an apology.
And although Robert Jenrick was being glib, it's easy to understand where the scepticism comes from. Have a look at the sheer anger and frustration on Rachel Reeves' face as she's announcing what the Tories had done. I fully believe the Tories had covered up. I mean, after all, we know what they did with the PPE scandal.
Mr Speaker, the government published its plans for day-to-day spending in the spring budget in March. But when I arrived at the Treasury, on the very first day, I was alerted by officials that this was not how much the previous government expected to spend this year. It wasn't even close. In fact, the total pressures on these budgets across a range of areas was an additional £35 billion. Once you account for the slippage in budgets you usually see over a year, and the reserve of £9 billion designed to respond to genuinely unexpected events, it means, Mr Speaker, that we have inherited a projected overspend of £22 billion.
Shadow Chancellor Jeremy Hunt was caught out in his own evidence, claiming Paul Johnson said that the Chancellor's figures were not credible. However, at the very same time that he said this, Paul Johnson also tweeted this.
She says, Mr Speaker, the information is new. But she herself told the Financial Times, you don't need to win an election to find out the state of public finances, as we've got the OBR now. Paul Johnson of the IFS says the state of public finances were apparent pre-election to anyone who cared to look, which is why he and other independent figures say her argument is not credible and won't wash. Those public finances were audited by the OBR just 10 weeks before the election was called.
So the entire time that Jeremy Hunt was shaking his head and mouthing rubbish, as Rachel Reeves is answering his nonsense, he's actually been on the morning round today trying to blame the civil service for not giving them all the detail, trying to claim that although they might have overspent, although they didn't, even though they did, which they didn't because it would have been the Rwanda plan that would have made everything right somehow. By the sound of the clip that I'm going to show you, it sounds like an addicted gambler that just needs under 100 quid just to put on this one bet because this one bet's going to be a surefire winner and then we're going to get all our money back plus extra. Well, what happens if the Rwanda plan didn't work, which it didn't look like it was going to anyway? Taxes would have gone up again and then it would have blamed global pressures yet again.
If you take the one number, £6.5 billion, £6.5 billion in this year to spend on asylum hotel costs, that was a decision that you had agreed with the Home Office in this year, which you hadn't made public to Parliament. That's correct, isn't it?
It is not correct. No, it would not have cost that money if Conservatives had been in office, because we would have had flights going to Rwanda. Nearly all that cost is the cost of housing
you didn't have any flights going to
migrants.
You didn't have a single flight.
Yes, I know, and they were about to go to Rwanda, and had they gone to Rwanda,
but I'm asking you a factual.
Hang on,
I'm asking you a factual. I'm asking you a factual
Not only would there have been fewer people
question.
to house, I'm giving you a factual answer, and you're not letting me give the answer. I'll give it to you now.
£6.4 billion
if those flights had gone to Rwanda, there would have been fewer people to house, and the bill would have been less than that £6.5 billion. But actually, it would have been much less than that £6.5 billion, because having those flights going to Rwanda would have meant that we would have had fewer people claiming asylum arriving here illegally, and that would have reduced the cost. So we had a good plan in place. Labour scrapped that plan. They need to own their own decisions.
There might well have been savings had the Rwanda plan ended up being successful in future years. The focus on all of this is on this fiscal year, where future productivity savings or efficiency savings haven't taken effect yet. Future potential benefits from the Rwanda plan, if it solved the immigration crisis, haven't taken effect yet. This year, according to everything that we've heard yesterday, your government would have gone well past its reserves, 2 to 3 times past, and no one was notified about that. I guess the question is, were you aware in any way that the reserves in this fiscal year were going to be bypassed, and could or should you have told Parliament?
But that claim is absolute nonsense, and that's what I'm saying to you. So if you take out public sector pay, around 2/3 of the additional cost is asylum, and it wouldn't have cost anything like the numbers we're hearing about, because we would have carried on with the Rwanda scheme that would have brought the cost down.
Richard Hughes, the chair of the OBR, the independent body, the OBR, said there were concerns about the transparency and credibility of the information the OBR was given. What's your response to that?
Well, I really welcome the fact that he's doing a review. The information that's supplied to the OBR doesn't come from politicians, it comes from civil servants. It's signed off at the highest level, and I'm absolutely confident the Treasury civil servants behaved with total probity and integrity, and I'm sure that's what the investigation will find, and so I welcome him doing it.
The biggest takeaway from the statement is that not all pensioners will be receiving the winter fuel allowance. Now, on one hand, you've got the people on benefits that need it, and you've got the people on the other end of the scale that don't need it. And yet everybody gets it. So it makes sense to take it from the people that don't need it. However, you're always going to get those people right there, smack bang in the middle, that are just on the fringes, not quite qualifying for the benefit, but not quite having enough money to live. And so taking this away is going to affect them quite badly. But what do you think? Do you think this is a good idea? Is there another way that they could raise money instead? Let me know down in the comments.
I can understand why people and members are angry. I am angry too. The previous government let people down. Mr. Speaker, the previous government made commitment after commitment without knowing where the money was going to come from. They did this repeatedly, knowingly and deliberately. Today I am calling out the Conservatives' cover-up, and I am taking the first steps to clean up what they have left behind. But the scale of the inheritance we have been left means the decisions we have so far announced will not be enough. This level of overspend is not sustainable. Left unchecked, it is a risk to economic stability. And unlike the party opposite, I will never take risks with our country's economic stability. So it therefore falls to us to take the difficult decisions now to make further in-year savings. Mr. Speaker, the scale of the situation we are dealing with means incredibly tough choices. I repeat today the commitment that we made in our manifesto to protect the triple lock. But today I am making the difficult decision that those not in receipt of pension credit or certain other means-tested benefits will no longer receive the winter fuel payment from this year onwards. The government will continue to provide winter fuel payments worth £200 to households receiving pension credit, or £300 to households in receipt of pension credit with someone over the age of 80. Let me be clear, this is not a decision I wanted to make, nor is it the one that I expected to make. But these are the necessary and urgent decisions that I must make. It is the responsible thing to do, to fix the foundations of our economy and bring back economic stability. Alongside this change, I will work with my right honourable friend, the Work and Pension Secretary, to maximise the take-up of pension credit by bringing forward the administration of housing benefit and pension credit, repeatedly pushed back by the previous government, and by working with older people's charities and local authorities to raise awareness of pension credit and help identify households not claiming it. The Reserve spent more than 3 times over only 3 months into the financial year, and they told no one. Mr. Speaker, the scale of this overspend is not sustainable. Not to act is simply not an option. We have already seen official ONS figures this month showing that borrowing is higher this year than the OBR expected. And the disaster of Liz Truss's mini-budget shows what happens if you don't take tough decisions to maintain economic stability. Some, including the leader of the opposition and the Shadow Chancellor, have claimed the books were open. How dare they?
And it's not the first time that Jeremy Hunt's lied to the British public, and the last one was about tax cuts. And you can see him admitting that lie in the video that's on screen now. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button, and I'll see you next time.